Hey y'all, we're going to get into this episode of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 6, Episode 3, titled Thin Red Line. And if you enjoy this review, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So Karlie and Reni are meeting up and they talk about her little purse dog. And then Karlie asks Reni how she's been, and she says she's been okay. Every day is different and she's adjusting after losing her mom. Condolences to her. Reni says that her kids keep her grounded and tells Karlie that she literally called and checked up on her every day. In a confessional, Reni says over the past year it's been emotionally and mentally draining, but after her mom went to the hospital, Karlie was there for her, and that made their friendship so much stronger and that she loves Karlie to death. Reni asks Karlie what she's been up to, and Karlie says that her grandmother passed, condolences to her, and then mentions how Spice was in the hospital and says that as soon as she found out, she ran to check on Spice. And Reni asks if Spice is out of the hospital, and Karlie says, yeah, she is, and she's been texting Spice, but Spice hasn't been responding. So she texts her again, but she still ain't responding. Reni says, but you were at the DR with her, and Karlie says, yeah, she did go, but they weren't even really talking at that point. And Karlie tells Reni that they had like a family reunion in Jamaica, and it seemed like Spice wasn't happy about the birthday party that she threw for her, and it seemed like Spice was upset about everything. Reni asks, well, what did Spice say? And Karlie says that they haven't spoken about it, but when she talked to Mita, she says Spice hasn't been answering the phone for her either, so she's like, maybe Spice wants some peace. And then Reni says, well, she did just go through a lot. And Karlie says she did, and Reni says maybe Spice has to adjust and deal with things on her own. And Karlie says Spice and her daughter are close, and even she's close with Spice, and she loves her like a sister, and she misses her. And Reni says, well, she knows she does. In a confessional, Karlie says she and Spice have been friends for over 6 years, and she knows she'd do anything for her. So she's just giving Spice her time and letting her spend time with her family and kids, and to get back to her music, and says that she'd never take it personal. Karlie tells Reni that Rashida has a bone to pick with her because she didn't tell her where Spice was, and says Rashida was texting her and when she was in the DR, but it was per the family's request that she would keep her mouth shut, and at the end of the day she didn't want to be the messy one. And then they'd say, oh, well, how did you find out where Spice was? And they say Karlie told them. Karlie says Yandy, Erica, Sierra, and all of them was mad at her for not answering. And Reni says, Erica who? And Karlie says, Erica Mena. And Reni says, oh, okay. Karlie asks what? And Reni says she just kind of heard that there's another Erica around. And Karlie says, yeah, Erica Banks. And Reni says, yeah. It says that they were very cordial, and says, you know how the girls do the Instagram follow here and I'm going to support you there, yada, yada. And says that they were DMing and might have flirted a little bit. And Karlie looks shocked and says, flirted? And says, you know, she loves that. And Reni rolls her eyes and says, anyways, but Erica Banks unfollowed her and she never mentioned it, but said, you know, she didn't fault her for it. And Karlie says, but you had her number. Reni tells Karlie that they talked about eating each other's puss. And then in her confessional, she says it's just real weird energy with Miss Erica Banks, and says that she doesn't know what her problem is, but she can definitely take her check with her to the bank and cash it. Reni tells Karlie that Erica Banks can stay over there because whatever it is, you know, Erica's got the problem, not her. And she says she's not gonna throw a drink or shake the table, and they both kiki off into the next scene. So now Karlie and Mita are trying to figure out why Spice isn't talking to them after everything that happened in the DR. And I just can't wait to see Mita try to explain herself to Spice out of everything that happened in the DR, because it's just been mess after mess. In a confessional, Amy says she's been so busy with her music that she hasn't had time to really prepare for the relaunch of her product, Pretty Kitty. Says that her mom is called the Momager, and says all her friends call her the Black Christianer. And that she runs everybody's careers, oversees everything for her and all of her sisters. And again, I'm not going to lie to y'all, these Kardashian comparisons are going to make me stop liking Amy quick as shit, because it's just giving me the EBGBs. Anyways, Chaotic shows up and basically asks Amy if he showed up to the right spot. And in confessional, Amy says her sisters work for her and that they were supposed to be helping her prepare for the Pretty Kitty relaunch. But of course, she woke up to a text saying that they aren't coming. But says Chaotic has always been her dependable friend. If she calls him, he's going to show up every time. Now, one thing about Chaotic, he seems to be a nice friend for real. Not just a Scrappy and Safari, but also to Amy, which is really nice. I say that because even though it seems like they hunching on a low, it still seems like he don't treat her differently. So that's what I mean. Of course, when Amy brings him in, he tries to do his little flirty thing and brush up on Amy's mom. And he reaches for a hug, and she gives him one, but it's kind of like a little half-ass hug. And Amy tells Chaotic that her mom has heard all of the thotty stories and the good times. And Amy's mom says, show him the product because that's what you're here for, right? In a confessional, Chaotic says, so Amy hit him up telling him to come by Pretty Kitty, right? And he's like, Pretty Kitty? He knows she wants him to purl on that little pussycat. So he was on his way, but her mom was there looking real fine. And Amy demonstrates and explains to Chaotic what the products are and what it's used for, and says that his thotties got the Nestle Crunch bar, so she's created it for him and his thotties. And because the American school system ain't shit, this motherfucker asks if her product gets rid of STDs and STIs. Lord, Amy's mom looked at him like, did you really just say that dumb shit, nigga? And Amy says no, it does not do that or anything of that kind. Like, I know he was trying to be funny, but no, sir, please stop. And a confessional, Chaotic says he's thinking Amy is calling him to get him to deliver a package, but she wants him to pack up 6,000 packages. Is she crazy? And then Amy explains to her mom that 2 of her sisters were supposed to come help her pack and label the products, and she told them that their mom was going to be there to come help too, but they were like, oh, well, mom couldn't come help with my project last week. I heard she was at your photo shoot, but yeah, she can figure it out. She's your best friend. In a confessional, Amy says as of lately, she can admit that her mom has been putting a lot more energy into her, so there's like this distance being formed between her and her sisters. Amy's mom tells her that this is money and this is family and that you don't just shit on your sister like this. Amy reads one of her sister's last texts, and apparently it said, Supermom should be able to assist you. All while Chaotic is fake pretending to use the products all wrong. Amy tells her mom, let's go Supermom and finish up, I guess. And Amy's mom says that her sisters just don't understand and that she's going to call a mandatory meeting, and says that she's putting her foot down. And Amy kind of makes a frustrated face. In her confessional, Amy says with her focus being mainly on her music career, her sisters need to hurry up and get it together. Now, she was making it seem like her sisters just left her high and dry and all this stuff. But later on, when they all meet up, you see that there is a lot of people pleasing when it comes to one of her other sisters, and a lot of favoritism, it seems to me, coming from their mom in regards to Amy. It might be that Amy is just making more money when it comes to her career and the things that she's doing, and that's why her mom is on her side most of the time, I guess. But you can just tell that the other sisters just really feel left out. Like, yeah. But that's the end of that scene. In a confessional, Jessica says she's been doing music since 2010 and that she loves it, but when she started modeling, that kind of took off. And then she experienced a relationship with a guy that did her dirty, so music went down the drain. But now that she's single and just moved to Atlanta, it's time that she threw herself into her work. So Jessica is with her producer and with her manager, and that they're listening to a song that doesn't really sound that good in my opinion, but she told them that she always said that if she were an instrument, she'd be an electric guitar. And then this other music producer named Bangladesh shows up, and everybody gets kind of excited. And in a confessional, Jessica says Bangladesh is there, and he's worked with Beyonce and Rihanna and some of the biggest artists in the world, and now he's working with her, and she's super honored. And from first glance, this is what I said. If he's all that and a bag of chips, he isn't there to work with her musically. In my opinion, maybe he just wanted to see Nick Cannon's almost baby mama. That's not all that she is. She ain't even with that man no more. But from the way this session went later on and the song that he said he chose for her, this was not a meeting of like minds. And I don't know Jessica, again, this is my first time hearing about her, but she just seems way too like sweet and novice to be in the music industry. It's just rough out there. Jessica tells Bangladesh she wants to make good music and art, and her manager says that they've been missing that one person that really believes in her outside of her just being a model. Bangladesh says, yeah, you get a lot of fake love like that. And Jessica says, yeah, she's gotten a lot of that, and that people only take meetings with her sometimes because she's Jessica White, not because they really care. And then Bangladesh asks her what's her motivation, and she says she wasted 8 years of her life in a relationship that wasn't going to go anywhere, and she knew that, and she was just making up for lost time. And then her manager says, but it wasn't a waste. And Jessica tells Bangladesh that she will say wasted her time because as women, a lot of our time gets wasted on relationships and partners that aren't going to go anywhere, and she isn't going to romanticize the traumas. In a confessional, Jessica says 8 years Nick kept her from everything, music, motherhood, and herself. And then everybody sits down to listen to a track that Bangladesh feels is Jessica's vibe. Everybody loves it, and they listen to it, and they just feeling it. And then he shows her the title of another song that he says he made just for her, and it's called Put It In Your Mouth. And she says, wow, that's provocative. And he plays the song, and it's completely ass. And in the confessional, she says that she's not singing this shit. Her manager is in shock. His jaw's on the floor. He says, well, alrighty then. And because the song is nails on a motherfucking chalkboard, the producer in there comes in to turn it off. And Jessica says she doesn't know if she's ready for all of that. Jessica tells Bangladesh she's not really feeling it, and he tries to mention when she said sexual liberation, but he couldn't even get the words out because he was high off his ass. And she says that that song isn't sexually liberating. She says that she will find a different way to say it, and he keeps saying, what you mean, what you mean? And in a confessional, Jessica says she's fucking classy, by the way, and that women are allowed to be sexually liberated and say blatantly what they want. It's just not supposed to feel belligerent and dirty. That was just a classic case of a raunchy ass song being written by a man for a woman, because most women know that we don't talk like that. And that some women will find a more censored way to say the uncensored, if that makes any sense. And then Bangladesh tells her that she has to be cutting edge, and Clay, her manager, and her producer in the back are kind of co-signing, just nodding their heads. And then Bangladesh says that it can be a subliminal and that people put shit in their mouth every day. And in the confessional, Jessica says she knows people don't see her and don't put a lot of value in the things that she can do. She just has to call all the shots because it's her life and she has to get it right for her. And then somebody asked Bangladesh if that's all he had, and he said, and then they end the scene. And I'm like, yes, please, because that track was ass. And again, I don't know, Jessica just seems like she might not have the self-esteem for the music business, and maybe Nick just made her feel just so bad and not confident in the things that she wants to do and pursue. But she just doesn't seem like, to me, that this is something that she really want to do. It's just to say that she can do it. That's where it's coming. That's how it seems to me. But that's the end of that scene. So Spice is on a business meeting with her tour manager, and he lets her know some concerns he has about the Cayman performance that she's having, and how they're having trouble selling tickets because it's the third time that they've postponed the concert. Spice says that the fans aren't sure if she's coming, and she doesn't want to shortchange them. But then the bell rings. In her confessional, Spice says last year she was fresh off the #1 reggae dancehall singer in the world, and she came from that high peak of her career, and her tour's on the road to cancellation, so that was definitely not news that she wanted to hear. She opens up the door, and it's Rashida, and they greet each other warmingly, and they talk about how good each other looks and how much weight Spice has lost and how she's been through hell. And Rashida says that she was on the phone and she cussed Karlie out yesterday because she was like, why wouldn't she respond at all? And Spice asks, she wasn't responding to you? And Rashida says that she wasn't responding to any of them. A few of them were very mad at her. In her confessional, Rashida says Karlie was in the DR with Spice but didn't want to respond to anybody's texts, phone calls, or anything. It says Karlie told her that she didn't want to be messy because she's known for being messy. And Rashida says, well, bitch, is it any time that you ain't messy? Because at that time, she could have simply said, hey, guys, I'm here with her. She's okay. I'll let you know what I can as soon as I can. Spice tells Rashida that there's so many things with Karlie that she doesn't even know which part to start telling her. Rashida says, Spice says, so first of all, why are people coming to her saying that Karlie said that she spent 30-something thousand on her for her birthday? And Rashida says, what? What was she talking about how much she spent? And I was like, hold up, wasn't it just 20-something thousand last episode? How many different prices has Karlie going around telling people? And then the confessional, Spice says Karlie took it upon herself to throw her a birthday party in Jamaica that she never stops talking about, and says that she never asked her to throw a party, and she's telling everybody on the island and the fishes in the sea that she threw her birthday party. And then they show a clip of the infamous party and of a Marilyn Negra telling Karlie how much of a nice friend she is, and how Spice doesn't even know how much time and energy and money it took, yada yada. And how Karlie is just nodding and saying, yeah, she doesn't even know. And Spice continues to say, leave it up to Karlie, and she will take anything that's supposed to be a nice gesture just to make herself look good. Spice tells Rashida that come to find out, Karlie only spent $1,000. And Rashida says, what, for the whole party? And Spice says, yeah. And Rashida asks Spice if she ever said anything to Karlie about it. Spice says no, but it goes on and says that Karlie and Mita are now friends, and Mita was her friend. And Rashida says, oh, really? And Spice says Mita was one of the people to submit her album for a Grammy. So why did Karlie submit a song that she and Karlie did together to be considered for the Grammys, but she never told her? And Rashida says, oh, wow. And Spice says it just came off weird. And Rashida says, mm-hmm. And in the confessional, Spice says she and Karlie have been friends a long time, but she always has felt some fake energy, just small things here and there. Stirring the pot here, being messy there, lying all the time. Everything just adds up for her, and now she's seeing the real Karlie everyone else was seeing. Spice and Rashida go to check out the rest of Spice's house, and they see her huge-ass walk-in closet, and she says she has to keep all her tour outfits down there because she's going to be going on tour soon. Rashida says that she don't want to hear no music industry BS, and Spice says she knows that in her head she can't do what she used to, but she's having a casting call to get dancers on her tour to do the extra stuff that she can, and she tells Rashida that she's got to come help her pick out her dancers, and Rashida's like, yeah, she'll be there, and that's the end of that scene. In a confessional, Amy says that there's so much awkward tension between her and her sisters and herself right now. So her mom planned this dinner, of course, to have a come to Jesus or kumbaya moment amongst the sisters. And she says hopefully this works out the way that her mom wants it to, because the workplace and the personal is awkward, and it's just sad to know that they are back in that space. Back? So how many times have y'all had this issue? Because if it's been more than once, then it's not your sister's fault. It's you and your mom teaming up against them. That's what it's seeming like. Amy's sisters arrive, and it's kind of awkward before they even sit down, but they exchange their pleasantries, and their mom gets straight to it. She says as a mom, it stresses her out when she sees her children at odds, and Angie cuts to the shit and says at the end of the day, Amy has been top priority, and says that their mom has 2 other children who are trying to do their own thing, and says that they're always on the back end. Amy says that if you had a business that was moving, you make that top priority too. And Angie says, did she not just open up a tattoo shop recently? And tells their mom that she showed up to the shop for like 20 minutes, and then when Amy called, she left, and says that they work just as hard as Amy has, so they should be getting the same amount of time and effort that their mom spends on Amy. And Amy says to Angie that she needs to work a little harder, and Angie's like, damn, and looks at the other sister who's been pretty quiet so far and says, whoa, did you hear that? Work a little harder. And Amy tells them that she's not being funny. She has 3 businesses to her 1. But I'm like, so you must think you're better than them. Like, who says work a little harder? Not I'm happy for you. Can I get a free tat? Nothing. It's just work a little harder. That Amy's giving off she's been the favorite child, literally. So in her confessional, Amy says that at the beginning of her and her sister's careers, their mom sat them down and gave them all the same equal lump sum of money, and said that she can't help that she took her money and invested it. Amy says that her sisters did a lot of shopping and vacations, and that their mom was looking at them like, y'all blew through the money, and Amy's brand is rolling, so of course she's going to be on Team Amy. Sounds like the favorite child to me. And not just that, but Amy's giving off like, well, I did the right thing. Y'all didn't, so y'all can't be mad if mom is on my side. Like, y'all, you can't tell somebody what to do with their money, but just because her businesses are flourishing, that doesn't mean that they care about how much money she's making. Maybe they just want their mom to support them just as much as they support Amy. That sounds like that's all it is. But Amy is giving off like she feels like her sisters are jealous, and I don't like that energy. It's making me not like her as much anymore. Amy tells Angie that if she can't understand that her business requires a lot more time for mom, then that seems like a selfish thing on her part, because if it were the other way around, she would understand their mom giving her more attention. And Angie tells Amy that it's easy for her to say that because their mom is always there in her ass crack. Of course, you're going to feel that way. And their mom looks flabbergasted and says, "Ass crack? Really?" And Angie says, "Yeah." And the other sister motions, and I guess I'll just say peeking through the blinds to keep it a little PG. But their mom says, "Don't forget that I am your mother and that you will never say that she's in anyone's ass crack," and says that she never kisses ass and that they should know that. Both Angie and Raynell try to be funny, saying that it's not about their mom kissing ass. They are saying that she's all the way up Amy's ass and that she comes every once in a while to see them. And in the confessional, Amy says, are they building an empire or a daycare? And says that she's going to give the same energy back. And she's done being nice, and the next time that they should do better with their money when given a free investment. Raynell tells Amy and their mom that honestly she doesn't want to work at Pretty Kitty anymore. And their mom says, "So what are you trying to say?" And Raynell says that she has to do what's best for her. And both Amy and their mom ask Raynell if she thinks that right now is the right time to quit when she knows that the Pretty Kitty launch is coming up. Raynell says for her, yes. And their mom gets to pointing the finger and says that is very spiteful and very ugly. Angie says she doesn't think what Raynell is doing is ugly at all. She says she thinks Raynell is trying to stand up for herself for a change. And in the confessional, Amy says for her sister to quit right now would mean that she has to put her music back on hold, which is her worst nightmare, and she would die before she stops doing music again. But it makes her wonder, is that what they want her to do? And that it gives her hater vibes, but she hopes that that's not it. Amy asks Raynell what she considers still working for Pretty Kitty because she knows that she needs her. Raynell says that she'll think on it because she has to think about herself, and it's hard for her to get her words out because everybody else around the table is trying to finish her sentences for her. Their mom says, okay, she'll think about it. But Angie says, no, girl, you definitely want to do your own thing. Just say that. And I'm like, poor Raynell, because she made it clear from the beginning of her intentions and what she wanted and that she didn't want to work there no more. And Amy tries to sway her to change her mind when she just told her sisters to work a little harder at what they're doing and maybe their mom will give them some more attention. Like, girl, you must think you're the Kim of this here Kardashian ship that y'all got, Black Kardashian ship, because that's a mess to beg her to stay after you just shit on them. And it seems like Raynell is the people pleaser of the crew because she just told them no, and now she sees her mom and her sister low-key breaking down, and she's like, well, maybe I'll consider it, when apparently she told Angie just yesterday that she didn't want to do the shit no more. Amy says to Angie, why does it seem like she's trying to persuade Raynell? And Angie says because they had a whole conversation about what she wanted to do, and now she's saying, oh, she'll consider it. And Amy is getting frustrated and saying, but now Raynell is saying that she will think about it. And Raynell tries to cut in, but everybody is cutting her off. And Angie says, it's about what you want to do. And Amy and their mom says she is doing that, what she wants to do. They think that Raynell really wants to work at Pretty Kitty the rest of her life. And tells Angie to let Raynell speak. That's what they say. And then Angie says, fuck all that noise. At this point, she's putting herself first at the end of the day, and it's not about them anymore. And the fact that Raynell isn't standing up and letting them change her opinions is crazy to her. And Raynell tries to say that she isn't, but Angie says that all this kumbaya shit is fake and she's not doing it, and she walks off. And they all kind of talking shit behind her back, saying that they are shocked and all of that. But Raynell left her ass in the dust for real when all Angie was trying to do was stick up for her. And I guess that would make me mad too, because it's like, you know, Angie and Raynell were on the same side at some point, agreeing about the fact that their mom gives Amy more attention. And now when Raynell sees Amy and their mom kind of breaking down, like, why would you want to leave? Why would you want to leave when your sister needs you? Angie is like, well, where it was their mom and Amy when they needed them. So again, I think Raynell is the people pleaser. This scene definitely showed that she's the people pleaser of that crew. And I hope she figured it out, because at this point, poor Angie is on the island by herself, and I don't believe her arguments are all wrong. I mean, they're sisters. They got other stuff going on. But from this scene here, it made it clear that Amy is somewhat of the favorite because she's probably making more money than the other sisters, and that's where their moms focus on, is where the money reside, where the money reside. Chicana walks into Spice's house. In her confessional, Spice says she just moved into this big ass house and it's empty as fuck, but her focus right now is on the Cayman show she has coming up in a few weeks. Spice tells Chicana that she knows she's getting ready to go back on the road, and Chicana kind of rolls her eyes, but Spice says that she wants to hold a dance audition, but to make sure, Chicana helps her pick the right dancers because it's very important to her. Chicana asks Spice, after everything you've been through, you really think you're ready? Because just the other day, she went off on Spice. She was scared that Spice was moving too fast. Spice says to Chicana that she keeps trying to get her to take baby steps, and she already has, and now she's ready to start running. Chicana asks Spice that you've been running, and Spice says race her to the door. And Chicana like, for you for real? So they kind of race, and Spice cheats. And in the confessional, Chicana says she doesn't like the fact that Spice wants to run around like she's all the way well. And then Spice twerks, and Chicana asks her, you can do all of that? And looks surprised. And Spice says, yeah, I told you I was ready for the Cayman show. And they laugh, and then the doorbell rings. Chicana asks Spice who's at the door, and Spice says probably a delivery person. She opens the door, and it's Karlie and her daughter Jazz, looking real awkward. And Karlie says she brought someone to see her, and grabs her daughter, and they try to push their way into the house. And then Karlie tells Spice that they are neighbors, and she bought the house across the street. And Spice says, you what? And then Karlie says that they live across the street, and she tells Spice that her daughter is pregnant. Spice is in shock, and Karlie tells Spice that she just wants her to look out for Jazz because she's going to be at the house by herself. In a confessional, Spice says that Karlie is so slick and knows what she's doing. Here goes the manipulation. But Karlie knows how she feels about Jasmine. In a confessional, she kind of says Spice just got out of the hospital, and now Karlie's coming to stress her out again by moving across the street. She says that Karlie Red is a dirty motherfucker and that that's some stalker type shit. Spice takes Karlie outside and asks if she really bought the house, and Karlie says yes. And in the confessional, Spice says a few months ago, she and Karlie were having a conversation when she found out that Karlie was trying to buy the house next door to her, and she was very clear with Karlie that she didn't want her living next door to her. And Spice says that because she's a single mother at home with her kids, and Karlie is going to bring the whole of Atlanta to come see her house, so for her to go behind her back and violate her privacy like that, that means she's violated the friendship. In my opinion, it's a little creepy because Spice already told her that she didn't want Karlie living next to her. Even before, Spice got sick, she said she and Karlie weren't even talking like that. So for her to go ahead and get this house, it's weird. It's giving obsessed, for real. In my opinion, it's giving obsessed, because if Spice already told her, look, I don't want you living next to me, I feel like it would be awkward, and she did it anyway, that is weird. And then you find out later that Karlie had somebody sign an NDA so they wouldn't tell Spice that she was buying a house. That's some weird shit. I wouldn't want that energy around me. Spice asks Karlie why did she have to move across the street from her when there are so many different houses in Atlanta. Karlie says because she's her sister and that they're family and she feels safe with her. Spice shakes her head and says no. Spice tells Karlie that they already spoke about this, and how when she bought the house, she wanted to be alone and at peace. And for Karlie to still go and get the house, it gives her a weird vibe. Spice tells Karlie that if she bought the house in her community and before she could finish, Karlie says that she would be so happy. Karlie is delusional. That is giving me delusional, because if someone is telling you what you just did not make me happy, and you're not even saying, well, I'm sorry that I made you feel this way, you're just saying, well, I thought you'd be happy about it, that's delusional. In a confessional, Karlie says that Spice had some concerns before, but she's always talking about how she has no family in Atlanta and that she needed help. Karlie says Spice knows her, so after she came to the DR, she thought Spice would be okay with her buying that house. Karlie tries to keep buttering Spice up by saying Jasmine feels safe with her and, her aunt being across the street, and Spice says no, Karlie, and closes the door on her face. And then Chicana goes looking for Spice and asks, did that bitch just say she bought the house across the street? And then the scene ends. Lord have mercy. I wouldn't know what to do if someone that you really not cool with and you feel like there are weird vibes moves next to you and you already don't want to talk to them. It's like they're forcing themselves upon you. That would piss me off. It would piss me off so bad. But that's the end of the scene. So Chicana's picking up Spice from our house, and in the confessional, Spice says that she and Chicana are going to be meeting Rashida because they're going to be auditioning dancers for her upcoming tour, and says that she should be super excited about getting back out there, but can't move past the fact that Karlie really moved next door to her. As Spice walked into the studio, she is greeted with cheering and applauses. In a confessional, Rashida says that she came to support Spice, but she sees poles and ass everywhere, and she knows Spice will want to get to dancing, but she don't want to see that ass clap right now. So they did like a whole 2 to 3 minute montage of all of the dancers auditioning for Spice and everybody, and I felt like those ladies danced their ass off, for real. In a confessional, Spice says tons of dancers showed up for the audition today, but the truth is they aren't Spice, so hopefully she can get back into her Spice mode and give her fans what they really deserve, a great show. So Chicana gets to the shit and asks Spice if they're going to talk about Karlie. So Spice turns to Rashida and explains how Karlie moved in and popped up at the house all crazy and moving across the street. And then Rashida asks Spice if that, doesn't scare her a little bit. And Spice says that she's scared and that Karlie is crazy. And in a confessional, Rashida says Karlie is giving stalker Karen vibes and calls her Karlie the Karen. And then Rashida tells Spice that it's an invasion of privacy and it's giving single white female. And Spice says right, and then that's the end of the scene. Now y'all let me know in the comments if you feel like Karlie is giving Karen. Because the whole movie next door to her thing, yes, is very much an invasion of privacy and stalkerish. But Karen, I don't know. Jessica's at a concert, and in her confessional, she says she's a huge fan of Tidra and that she's a true artist. Clay, Jessica's manager, tells her that he's going to take her backstage to meet Tidra and maybe she can give her some advice. In a confessional, Jessica says when you make it for one thing, most people want to keep you in a box. And she says that she resents that. And then she and her manager go to meet Tidra and they hug and stuff. And she asks if Jess moved here. And Jess says yes, but Clay says that they're trying to make it in this music thing. And Jessica explains that it's hard for her to figure out this whole thing of being Jessica White, the supermodel, to Jessica White, the artist, but nobody sees that for her. Tidra tells Jessica it's not about what they want to see, it's about what you give them, and to just own who she is. And Jessica gets emotional and says she doesn't like to fail. That's what's driving her crazy. Are they gonna let her prove herself, she says. And Tidra says that's a battle within yourself and she can't let them have that power. And in the confessional, Jessica says it's comforting to hear Tidra tell her she's on the right path. And then Clay says that they are going to keep Tidra posted and maybe she can pop in on a session. And then Tidra says she's there for Jessica and they hug and embrace, and that's the end of their scene. In the confessional, Karlie says she's meeting with Spice and she hasn't talked to her since Spice slammed the door in her face, but she's hoping that they can talk as sisters and put all the house drama to bed. Spice walks in and sits, and Karlie says, "Hey sis," and Spice says, "Don't say hey sis, Karlie," because she's gonna make her get mad and upset. Not gonna lie, Spice looks good with her shades and that hair, and she's ready to read, child. In a confessional, Spice says the truth is she's going to try her best to hear Karlie out even though she knows she's a liar, but she doesn't know how long she's going to be able to sit and watch Karlie be fake across the table. Spice tells Karlie that since Karlie wanted to talk so bad, she's here, so don't piss her off. She really wants to hear what's going on in Karlie's head because she's really confused. Karlie asks Spice why she's mad at her, and Spice says it's because she acts funny and then gets into the whole birthday thing in Jamaica and how she spent $35,000 or something. Karlie says she's never told people that, and then Spice gets into Karlie submitting their song for the Grammys, and Karlie says yeah, and Spice asks why she didn't tell her, and Karlie says she thought Mita would have told her, and Spice says why would Mita need to tell her that, and she says what is she saying to her? Like, why didn't she tell her about the song? And she feels like Karlie was being sneaky. Karlie tells Spice she thought that she would be happy about the song, but it didn't go anywhere. And Spice cuts her off and says, "Don't try to twist the situation." And Karlie nods and says, "Right." And in the confessional, Karlie says that she doesn't even remember what she spent on Spice's birthday party, and she doesn't even care. She didn't know that she had to basically ask and beg Spice to submit their song for a Grammy. So it's like the thing she thought Spice would be happy about, she isn't. And it's because, girl, you're not listening to your friend. And any friend who doesn't listen isn't no motherfucking friend, period. But Spice tells Karlie that they argued about the house last year and says that Karlie living next to her is a problem. If she farted, Karlie would be able to smell it. That's how close the house is. And says that the house is so close, Karlie could hear her having sex. Why does she have to live right next to her? And Karlie says that she thought Spice would be happy about that. And Spice says, "Stop saying that." And then Spice asks Karlie why, when she bought the house, did she give the lady an NDA? And I'm like, well, how the fuck did Spice get that info? She must have just asked the neighbor. Maybe the neighbor told her. But then Karlie says that's what she gives everybody, an NDA. And Spice asks, why would you need to hide that you're buying a house next to her if she claims that they are best friends? And she kind of mocks Karlie. In a confessional, Spice says the truth is, from them arguing about the house last year, Karlie knew that Spice would still be angry if Karlie still went and bought the house. So she purposely made her neighbor sign an NDA and made sure that it was illegal for her neighbor to tell her that Karlie was buying the house, and says that it's shady as hell and very creepy. Karlie tells Spice that she didn't know she hated her that much. And Spice says that when she was fighting for Karlie, Karlie never used to say, "Oh, I never knew that you hated me that much." And Karlie tells Spice that if she were in trouble, she'd give her a kidney. And Spice tells her to stop being fake. And Karlie says that she would, but Spice just doesn't see it. Spice tells Karlie that she had her in her life, but Karlie keeps fucking up over and over and over again by violating her privacy and space, and did it behind her back. And she tells Karlie that she almost died, and Karlie says that she understands, but Spice says that she doesn't have time for the negative energy. Karlie tells Spice that she feels like if she and Jazz were on fire, Spice wouldn't even spit on them to help them. And in a confessional, Karlie says after everything she's done for Spice and the way Spice is treating her right now, you think she slept with her husband or took $100 million from her or just did the worst things ever the way Spice is acting right now. As she's crying, Karlie tells Spice that she is sorry if she did anything to offend her, and Spice gets up and leaves and says that she can't deal with that fake shit. And Karlie says, but she apologized and said that it won't happen again. Spice says, nah, she's not going to do it with Karlie, and Karlie follows her out of the restaurant. Karlie calls for Spice, and Spice says, what are you doing this for? And Karlie is crying, telling Spice that she loves her. And to me, it seemed like Karlie was chasing Spice, like she left her for somebody else, like they was hunching or something. But then in the confessional, Spice says, why is Karlie chasing her when she's never chased any of them dudes she's fucked with all them years like this? And she says it's crazy and creeping her out, and she doesn't know what's going on in Karlie's head, but she needs to stay far from her because she doesn't like this energy. It's giving obsession at this point. Very much so, Spice. Yes, very much so. Karlie cries and says she doesn't have anybody to talk to, and Spice has her back. As Spice says she had her back, but Karlie fucked it up and tells her that she used to fight for her, so why is she fake with all her stuff, like how she moves? And Karlie is crying, saying she needs Spice, and as Spice is saying, please stop. You know, she's giving her years of her life of love and friendship. And then Spice keeps walking away, and Karlie keeps following her. And she tells Spice that she loves her, but Spice says that's not how you love someone. Trust her. And she shakes her head and she's walking away. And Karlie is in the back looking like, where's Waldo? All sad and distraught and shit. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of their relationship. I never really liked Karlie that much. But the moving next to her was just a big no. Just a big no. Especially if Spice already said she wasn't feeling the shit. But that's the end of this review. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.